The thing that I enjoyed most was the wheelchair basketball, and it wasn't really until I had left hospital and met up with an old friend who I'd gone through rehab with, and he said he joined a basketball team. So I said, well, can I come along? So I went along to the club, and the chairs were very different in those days. It was sort of 1980s, and there were a few sports chairs, but the majority of people were playing in sort of converted or adapted NHS chairs, with cut down backs and the foot plates welded together or bolted together. And so I went along, and it felt like I was at one end of the court when everybody else was fast and down the other end. But I pretty soon caught on and really knew that from day one that it was an exciting sport and something that I was keen to be involved in. And that was really how I got into wheelchair sport.
Where was that club?
It was at Leighton Buzzard, so not far from here, and so it was a fun time, and we were enthusiastic, and from that I joined another team, the LGS Jets, who were based here at Stoke Mandeville, and there were two teams at the time. By that time I'd got my first sports wheelchair, which was so exciting to have a chair, because then you could really get up and down the court with everybody else, and you felt part of the team. And they weren't the light chairs that they are now. They were sort of aluminium chairs, very dated they would look now, but they were really effective and enabled you to play the sport to a much higher level. That really did transform the sport, and as more and more people got sports chairs, and then eventually they started being imported from the States, and then we were able to play the sport to a much higher level because you were more proficient in your chair. Rather than trying to play the sport in a chair that was almost fighting against you, you were using a piece of equipment that was enabling you to perform to your best. Probably not as they do today, but by comparison to the old NHS folding chairs, it was a very big step forward at that time.
What were the models? Who were the suppliers?
Well, there was a British guy called Vinny. I had one of his chairs to start with, and then I got a chair called a Quadra from America, and then I had a Quickie from America, and then I had a series of Quickies, and then we went back to British chairs because they had improved a lot, and a company called RGK had come on the market by then, and the important thing was that it fitted you, and it was set up for your disability, so it gave you the best balance to play and do the things on the court that you wanted to do, whether it was pushing, turning, and that's why with the camber on the wheels, that helped the chairs to turn, but it also lowered the centre of gravity, so made the chairs more inherently stable, and then as they got lighter, that enabled you to go a bit faster, although I was never really that fast. Fast of mind, maybe. Well, in those days, back in there wasn't a huge amount of teams around the country, so we played in the National League, and eventually used to sort of, I think there were two divisions, so we started off in the second division, and because we were a relatively young group of players, we did very well and got promotion. So we then went into the first division, which was a national league, so we were travelling all over the country. I mean, we'd go up to Scotland for the weekend to play matches, or up to the northwest, or all over the place, and there were also cup competitions as well, but each year the big competition was the national games here at Stoke Mandeville. And so when we joined the sort of LGS Jets based here at the stadium, we had two teams, both in the first division of the National League. And after that, some of us decided to form our own club, and we set up a club in Milton Keynes called the Aces, and that was in 1984. and that was the year that got selected for the Paralympic Games here at Stoke Mandeville to be in the wheelchair basketball team. I think they were looking to sort of bring some young players through into the team in the sort of 80s, and so a few of us got a chance to be in the 84 team, which of course was not going to be at Stoke Mandeville, but ended up here.
What was that experience like, Stoke Mandeville 84? What was it?
Well, I think the initial thing was the joy of selection. I mean, it was a bit of a surprise, really. I mean, we'd been in the squads and training, but I certainly didn't think I was going to get picked. And then to get the letter to be picked was something amazing, and to think that you were going to be going off to America, as it was then, to Champaign, Illinois for the Paralympic Games. We were planning a sort of trip afterwards and going a bit sightseeing and all of that, so we sort of got our minds that thought, well, we'll have fantastic training, fantastic competition, and then go and do some travelling. But of course that all changed, and we took part in the games here at Stoke Mandeville. That in itself was incredible, to be training here and then competing in the games here, and that family and friends could come and watch, and particularly friends and family who'd supported me 5 years earlier through, probably the most traumatic thing in my life.
And how did the GB basketball team perform in 84?
I think we came a glorious 7th, and I didn't get to play a huge amount, but I did a lot of warming up, and for me it was about being part. I'm a great team person, and being part of that team was great fun. We stayed in the William Harding School, which is a junior school about 150 yards away from the stadium here, and we had some adventures there as well, which was quite interesting, because obviously it wasn't designed for adults, so all the toilets were low, and it was just, we were sleeping in classrooms that had beds in. It was all a bit bizarre, really, but it was a great experience. And then of course there was, after you'd finished competing, there was the beer tent, and everybody went in, and it was very social as well as being competitive. And I think that the Paralympics has, it's very professional now, but there's always that sort of fellowship and sense of camaraderie that exists, I think, in the Paralympic movement.